Stay inside. Warning continues from U.S. officials as Hurricane Irma pounds Florida, leaving destruction in its trail. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I am Nadine McLeod. Also this evening, as the Eastern Caribbean Islands pick up the pieces that literally and figuratively rebuilding talks have begun. And later, saved by Tremaine Brown, the man who rescued a boy from raging waters in a gully. There's also the business review, sports and weather in this newscast, so stay tuned. The news in detail after this break. Welcome back to Primetime News and a special welcome to viewers on onespotmedia.com. A reminder as well that you can download our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1, followed by the word Spot and Media. Hurricane Irma slammed into southwest Florida on Sunday, threatening to bring dangerous storm surges to coastal areas already battered. More than 2.1 million households are without power. The hurricane is now barreling towards Naples, Florida, after making landfall in the Florida Keys as a Category 4 storm this morning. The hurricane was this afternoon downgraded to Category 2. More from the CNN.
This is the marina. This is what's amazing. That water here is still going out on this side. This is the marina. There is no seawater in this marina anymore. It's all fresh water just pouring in off the land from this storm. The boats you see off in the distance, the big one and then the boat there, those are sitting on mud right now, incredibly enough. If you look over here to the left, you can see that there's a sign that's just about to come off of a pole there. That's the power of this wind. And then look at the trees in here. These are some of the strongest winds we've seen so far. The palm trees are just perpendicular. They doesn't look very normal. It's amazing that these things can stay up and do fine. All the way around, it looks like Punta Gorda, at least this section of it, has just lost electricity a little while ago as well. I think they expected that. The emergency management folks talked about the storm hurricane force winds around 8 p.m. tonight. I don't know if this storm has slowed down or not. Perhaps Tom can speak to that later, but clearly it may be slowing down a little bit before we get to that other side of the eye wall when the wind will change direction and all that water that was washed out to sea will all come back. They're expecting a 5 to 8 foot storm surge here, that wall of water from the ocean, about 3 feet on land they're expecting. So we're going to watch for that and maybe have to change positions before that happens.
In the meantime, talk has turned to rebuilding in some of the Eastern Caribbean islands ravaged by Irma. As TVJ's Vashon Brown now reports, the islands are breathing a sigh of relief after they were spared further devastation by Hurricane Ozzy.
Days after Hurricane Irma ripped through the Eastern Caribbean, there were fears that Hurricane Ozzy could cause more devastation. But the islands were spared the full force of the Category 4 storm. Now, the islands are focused on rebuilding. For places like Barbuda, Antigua's sister island, that rebuilding could take quite some time. Houses and other infrastructure damaged. The minister responsible for Barbuda affairs was asked by ABS TV in Antigua about a timeline.
Maybe on a temporary basis, you think like electricity and so on is going to need anything like 2 months. Because they hardly any pole left. If you have 10 light poles standing in the Barbuda, you have a lot. Light poles here, then everywhere, wires. Also the desalination plant has been disrupted. So I see a minimum of about 2 months to get just some basic infrastructure back so that people can start thinking about moving back to Barbuda.
In St. Martin, the focus is also on repairs and cleanup operations. In a statement today, the Dutch Foreign Ministry said St. Martin had suffered damage from wind and rain. The ministry added that patrols appear to be effective in preventing or stopping looting and robbery. It said large-scale distribution of food and water by soldiers and aid workers will begin tomorrow. Before Irma made landfall in Florida, it caused damage in Cuba. It knocked out power in a popular tourist town, which at one point was under as much as feet of floodwater. Vashon Brown, TVJ News.
In other news, he's been hailed as a hero in Trenchtown. This evening, we bring you the story of Tremaine Brown, who risked his life to rescue a boy from raging waters in a gully. TVJ's Jamela Mitchell reports.
Jesus Christ, This is a video that has gone viral on social media. Water rushing through a gully. Look closely. You'll see a man holding a child in his hand. He's trying to rescue the child from the raging water. This is Collie Smith Drive, Trench Town in St. Andrew. We're told that this video was recorded Friday afternoon. A big celebration in the community when we visited on Sunday. This is the man the people are describing as a hero, Tremaine Brown. He explained what exactly happened.
As I seen everyone running down from up the road, I seen a little boy in the gully. So my instinct was just to take my shoes off. As I took my shoes off, I jumped in, but I dived in towards him just to grab him, you see? So as I've grabbed him, I've just hold on to him, you see?
At one point, he said he wanted to give up because he was experiencing difficulties, but the little boy encouraged him not to.
So as I've jumped in to save him, I've held on to him, but the current is pushing us away. But every time I'm trying to hang on, chip up my foot. So I'm trying to hold on to the side. So as I've tried, I've gone down towards Maypen. There's a branch hanging off. So when I've reached for it, the branch snapped. So as we've gone straight further down, there was another branch, and I've held it. And the little boy, he started praying. And when he started praying, it's like he gave me some strength.
12-year-old Ronaldo Reynolds is the little boy that was rescued. He explained that he was on his way from school when the drama unfolded.
Rain start fall and I stop. And I want building and then it stop fall. And then I go and see some big boy in the gully. And then I go down in there and put one of my foot in the water. And I come out back and my hand slide off.
Yeah, I slide and tell me what happened after you slide.
I drop back in the gully and start wash away.
Ronaldo had this to say to the man who rescued him.
I thank him for saving my life. I wish I could have given him something.
Both the man and the boy received injuries. They were taken to hospital where they were treated and released. Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
An early morning motor vehicle crash in Hope Road, St. Andrew, has left an athlete dead and another hospitalized. Dead is Jordan Scott, who attended the University of Technology, while national sprinter Michael Campbell is in hospital. We will have more on this story in Primetime Sports later on. But first, here's TVJ's Giovanni Dennis.
I'm currently standing at 52 Hope Road in Kingston. Just behind me is the partially burnt light pole that the athlete's Honda Civic slammed into this morning. Our news centre obtained photographs showing the vehicle and also its burnt remains. Superintendent Kubri is the acting head of the Police Highway and Traffic Division.
About 4:45 a.m., a Honda motor car travelling from Offrey direction towards Papine with two persons aboard, and reaching the vicinity of Lady Musgrave Road, the vehicle crashed into a concrete median behind us, and as a result the driver lost control of the vehicle, which further crashed into the utility pole behind me.
Both athletes were trapped. Michael Campbell was rescued and taken to hospital. Jordan Scott did not make it. Superintendent said speeding was a factor and insisted that road users need to be more careful when driving in built-up areas like Hope Road.
People must be mindful that in built-up areas like here in the corporate area, you are allowed to travel 30 miles per hour, 50 kilo. Right? The specified speed that a motorist should travel. And what I see behind me there, it indicates that the person was traveling much faster than that.
He says in light of the recent increase in accidents along Hope Road, the police will have to increase their presence to curb speeding.
This Hope Road stretch have, caused the lives of several motorists. And I think that's something motoring public needs to be aware of. It's a fast-moving road, and it carries heavy volumes of traffic. And we have carried out numerous speed check operations along the stretch. And what has happened here this morning, just going to force the police to do a lot more enforcement along the stretch of road.
Giovanni Dennis, TVJ News.
In the meantime, Superintendent Kubri provided an update on road fatalities since the start of the year.
We have recorded 218 fatal collisions, resulting in 236 deaths. the comparative period last year, we had 225 fatal collisions, resulting in 273 deaths. So we have 37 fewer persons being killed on the nation road, which is a positive sign. But as I said, I'll use this medium to advise motorists to drive with care and drive with caution.
Despite the impending passage of a new Road Traffic Act threatening bigger fines, some transport operators continue to flout the law by packing more passengers into their vehicle than allowed. More vehicles some vehicles which should have 5 passengers have twice as many. So what's being done about it? TVJ's Jeline Pearson has more.
On a typical day on a Burke Road in Spanish Town, taxi operators can be seen coercing passengers into their vehicles which should be parked in the nearby transport center. That's not the only problem. One by one, passengers climb in until this conventional 7-seater has passed its legal capacity. According to the Road Traffic Act, only under certain instances should any taxi, even 7-seaters, carry more than 5 passengers at a time.
The minister had issued a directive that these vehicles could be used for 7 seats once they are issued with the appropriate public passenger vehicle insurance to cover the number of persons. So once the seating capacity is in the seating capacity issued by the Island Traffic Authority on the L form reflects that number, and the vehicles have the appropriate insurance, they can be used for route taxi service, but not for, they would not get the 7 seats for the Hackney carriage because the Hackney carriage limit is 5.
Even with this change, some taxi operators still choose to load twice as many people into their vehicles. The Transport Authority says it has served over 20,000 summonses since the start of the year for excess passengers and taxi overloading. It says while it does accept some responsibility, in the end, the decision is that of passengers.
Since January, we have issued 1,503 prosecutions for an offence that's called excess passengers, and this is across the island. The thing is that as a transport authority does its monitoring activities, it can sometimes be challenging to nab the persons because some of the vehicles try various ways of evading our operations. But we continue to mount those operations. While I don't have the specific areas that the greatest numbers are, we continue to have those operations across the island.
But even ongoing monitoring on the nation's roads hasn't stemmed the culture of overloading. Head of the Traffic Department, Senior Superintendent Calvin Allen, says the problem is one with which the force has grappled with for years. He insists the force has tried to tackle the problem but doesn't always have the resources.
The sort of vigilance is on that area. Not every vehicle will be able to be stopped, but it is an area that we continue to give that sort of attention.
The traffic police boss is hopeful a soon-to-be implemented revised road traffic law will make it easier to prosecute offenders.
If the operator has committed that number of breach within a given time frame, that some serious action be contemplated regarding their road license. So, and it is a discussion that is receiving the sort of attention that I find to be encouraging. And we are going to be continuing that discussion and to see if it can lead to something that is properly regulated in that regard.
TVJ News attempted to get a response from taxi operators who were overloading their vehicles, but they refused to speak with us. Jeline Pearson, TVJ News.
Civil Military Corporation and Media Affairs Officer of the Jamaica Defence Force, Major Basil Jarrett, has given an update on the guns found so far in Mount Salem, St. James. Major Jarrett says a number of guns have been found and several men taken into custody. He says 2 wanted men were also found.
To date, we have recovered 5 firearms in the zone of special operations here in Mount Salem. The majority of those firearms were actually found yesterday over a period of about 8 hours in the Mount Salem area. Yesterday morning, we found one AK-47 assault rifle with 5 live rounds on Peddlers Lane in the community. Later in the afternoon, we picked up a number of firearms, a Sig Sauer 9mm and 2 homemade handguns also in the area.
Mount Salem is the first zone of special operations. Major Jarrett added that this type of operation is new for the soldiers, but they're encouraged so far with the results.
We've never worked in a situation like this, given the very specific legal requirements of working in a zone of special operations. But by and large, soldiers have really outfitted themselves well. They have really taken to the job with the sort of professionalism that we've expected. And we are getting the results. The intelligence is coming in. We are getting the support from the community. And we're confident that as the operation goes further, we will continue to pick up more guns and pick up more men that we're trying to eradicate from Mount Salem.
Meanwhile, a community service fair was held in Mount Salem, St. James on Saturday as part of the government's Zone of Special Operations Social Intervention Program. The fair focused on skills training, health checks, and civil registration, which includes birth certificates, proper identification, and TRNs. The director of the Education Ministry's Safety and Security in Schools program, Assistant Superintendent Coleridge Minto, says targeting the youth in the area was a big part of the initiative.
With the data gathering, and once information comes to us through the official channels, then we will, through the region and the regional director, ensure that these persons are placed and reintegrated into the schools. And that's our primary focus at this phase in terms of the social intervention.
And still ahead in Primetime News, the business review and international stories. Please stay with us.